guys, it's Laura from Day by Day Vlog, starting a new series on my channel called a Get to Know Me series, and I am going to vlog about some things that have happened in our past before we became a vlogging family, and just ways for you guys to get to know us better. So today I'm going to tell you about my tubal pregnancy experience. I had my last baby 3 weeks before I turned 40 years old. My husband and I knew that we were going to try again for one last pregnancy before we got too old. I stopped breastfeeding Sophia at 3 months old because she had a lot of health issues. She had some food allergies that made the breastfeeding situation just a nightmare for us. She had severe colic, and so at 3 months we made the heartbreaking decision to stop breastfeeding. Once we stopped breastfeeding, we knew that we were going to have another baby, that we were going to try to have another baby, and we knew we needed to do it fast because time was flying by. So I tried for a few months to get pregnant naturally, and it just wasn't happening. So I eventually decided to try something called soy isoflavins. Soy isoflavins are a natural alternative to fertility meds like Clomid. They do the same kind of thing with your body and help you to ovulate a better quality egg. So I decided to try that. It was natural. I really wanted to just get this done before I was too old. So I took the soy, and sure enough, 2 weeks later, we had spent the weekend at our trailer. We had just come home, and I started to feel the niggling little sensation in my right ovary that told me that maybe I would be soon ovulating. So I said to my husband, it was 6 p.m. and I said, oh, I think I'm ovulating. This is perfect. It's right on time. It's a good indication that this is going to be a good egg and I might get pregnant. So we fed the girls supper, we got everybody bathed and ready for bed, and by 8 o'clock, the pain in my right ovary started to increase dramatically. And it was around 9 o'clock, I said to my husband, I'm gonna go and have a hot bath and see if that takes the pain away, because it felt really strong for me. And at this point I started to fear that the isoflavins that I had taken had done something, and maybe this wasn't a good ovulation. Maybe there was something wrong with this ovulation because the pain was so strong, or maybe I was ovulating more than one egg. At this point I had no idea. So I had a hot bath and I got out of the tub and I said to my husband, the pain is still really bad. I'm not sure what's happening, but something doesn't feel right. Eventually my husband went to bed and I just stayed up. I couldn't sleep through the pain. Around 10:30 p.m. I had another hot bath trying to get the pain to go away. The pain felt like somebody was squeezing my ovary. It literally felt like somebody was just squeezing it, and it was rhythmic. It was exactly like having contractions in my tube. So it was just like labor, but it was in my tube. So it just kept on feeling like I would get this squeezing sensation, and then it would go away. And then 5 minutes later, I would get the squeezing sensation back again. At 10 o'clock at night, I phoned my sister, who was a nurse, and I said, listen, I'm having this pain and it feels like maybe I'm having a tubal pregnancy, but I don't even think I'm pregnant. And she said, well, if you think you're having a tubal pregnancy, then you should go to the hospital. So when I hung up with her, I phoned my other sister and I said to my other sister, I feel like I'm having a tubal pregnancy. And while I was talking to her, I was literally making sounds like I was in labor. I was panting and groaning and stretching my body out because the pain was horrible. When I hung up with her, it was around midnight, and I went upstairs and I woke up my husband and I said, Sam, we need to go to the hospital. And for me to go to the hospital, he knew that I needed to go to the hospital because I never go to the doctor or to the hospital. So we woke up one of my other children and we said, Nick, you need to watch the girls because we're going to the hospital. When we went to the hospital, they got me right in and they gave me a little jar to pee in because they wanted a urine test. They wanted a urine sample. Every time I went pee, I had this really horrible sensation like I was pouring acid into an open cut, and it just lasted for a few minutes, but it was horrible. So after I went pee, I waited in the bathroom until that sensation passed, and I started to walk down the hall to take my urine sample back to the nurse. And as I was walking down the hall, before I had even seen a doctor, I felt that contraction again in my tube where my tube got really, really, really tight. Somebody was squeezing it, and then I physically felt and I heard with my ears a pop sound, just like that. And as I heard it, I felt something pop out of the end of my tube. It felt like somebody was squeezing so tight, and then I heard and felt a popping sound, and something popped right out of the bottom of my tube. At this point, I still didn't even know if I was pregnant. So the doctor took us in, and he came in and he said that he did a urine pregnancy test and I was pregnant. And my husband and I were shocked. We could not believe that I was pregnant because we didn't even understand when I had ovulated. I had been tracking ovulation and still somehow we missed it. So they did an ultrasound and they were unable to find a mass in my tube, and they were unable to find a pregnancy in my uterus. So we knew something was going on, we just didn't know what. They ended up after I felt that popping sound in my tube, the pain decreased dramatically to the point where I felt comfortable going home. So they sent us home and they said, come back tomorrow and we will retake your blood work. We'll take your blood work and we'll retake your blood work and we will compare your HCG levels. HCG is the hormone in pregnancy, the hormone in your urine that is measured to tell if you're pregnant. When I was at the hospital, they tested my blood and my HCG was really high, so I was for sure pregnant. We went back the next day and my HCG levels had dropped by at least a half. So we knew that I was pregnant, that the pregnancy was failing, and and that's all we knew at that point. I did have a follow-up at my doctor, and she did verify for me that what I felt while I was standing in the hallway was my tube expelling the pregnancy. That's exactly what it feels like, and that not all tubal pregnancies end in a rupture. I was lucky that it expelled the pregnancy all on its own. So that's what happened to me, and then I just miscarried like normal. Nothing else happened. I didn't have a rupture. We continued to try to have a baby until I was 43 years old. I wanted to stop trying by the time I was 41, and it hadn't happened for me. So by the time I was 41, I said, okay, let's go to 43. By the time I got to 43, we still wanted to have a baby. So I said, let's go one more year to 44. We tried all sorts of fertility meds. We tried all sorts of treatments, and nothing happened. Nothing worked. And I prayed to God and said, you know, God, if we're not meant to have another baby, can you please take the desire away from me and help me to not be, you know, stressed out and upset about this. And that did happen. By the time I was 44, in my 44th year, I felt okay with it, and I lost the desire to have another baby, and we did not ever end up having another baby, and I feel okay with that. I think my husband still wanted to have another baby, but it didn't happen for us, and that's okay. But anyway, I wanted to share my tubal pregnancy story with you guys, because who knows, maybe it can help somebody else who has a tubal pregnancy and doesn't know what to look for. And I thought I was ovulating when I was having a tubal pregnancy. I had been charting my fertility, and when I looked back, there had been signs that I was ovulating way at the very beginning of my cycle, and on cycle day 6. I brushed it off because I didn't think I would be ovulating on cycle day 6. I guess the soy that I had taken that cycle had made me have a really early ovulation, and that's how I missed it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below, and I'll see you again for my next video. Bye.
And don't forget to make sure to hit that subscribe button down below.